Salam everyone, and welcome back to another video. This video is also about chess. Today I'll be talking about the scholar's mate. It's one of the most popular mating techniques, checkmating techniques, in which you can checkmate your opponent in 4 moves. Okay? So I'll be going over how to do it. Are there any tips and tricks in it? Are there any hidden techniques in it? Any hidden forks? Any hidden, things in there? So let's begin with the video. Okay guys, so now let's begin with the scholar's mate. Now, the scholar's mate, as I said, is of exactly 4 moves. So we can begin on how to properly understand it. So basically the scholar's mate is from white's perspective. So first off, white goes e4, the king's pawn, getting the bishop and the queen some scope. Black responds with the common e5, which is the most common move. And then you play something, is between 2 options, actually 3 options. 1 option is with the bishop, and 2 options are with the queen. Let's go with the queen first. The most aggressive queen move here is queen h5. Now this attacks a lot of things. You can see with the red arrow, it attacks immediately the pawn on e5. And now it keeps up some pressure on the f7 square, the f7 pawn, which is only defended by the king. Now the best move for black is to play knight c6, which is to defend the pawn on e5. But let's say black doesn't play that, and black, in fact, let's say they just play the best move. Okay, let's just say they play the best move. Now here you just play bishop c4. You're attacking the pawn on f7. Okay, now the reason why scholar's mate is not really popular is because it's only really effective on low elo players, like people who just started chess, or perhaps an animal who you just randomly decide to play chess with. That's only how it works. Okay, now you're attacking the f7 square together with the bishop and the queen. Now if they don't defend it, if they don't play something like, let's say for example g6, which is the best move, or around that, they can also play queen e7 defending the f7 square, something along the line of that. And the crackhead method is to play d5, which is what no one's gonna play. So let's say they play knight f6, and now it's made in 1 move with queen takes f7 mate. This is called the scholar's mate. So obviously the best way is to play with g6. If they play g6, you can go queen f3, threatening the same attack on f7. Now the best way to defend is obviously knight f6. While you're blocking the attack, you're also developing your pieces, which is a good thing to do when you're obviously playing a chess game. But let's say that they don't do that again. Instead they play some random move and they get mate again. Obviously this, for low elo players, queen f3 is kind of a difficult threat to see, because it's a little bit more further than queen h5, like here. Let's say they play knight f6, they're safe. And now black is in fact in a better position already, because let's say now white tries to catch up on development, black is going to hit them with knight d4, attacking the queen, and now the queen has to go all the way back, because if the queen doesn't go back, instead say somewhere like here, they're going to get forked and they lose a rook. So yeah, it is a high risk, high reward opening for white. They can not necessarily do much with it, but they can definitely try. Of course, if it's a low elo player, you can either do this against low elo players or players whom you're playing a fast game of chess against, because they might not be able to think fast enough to dodge that. That's obviously a high hope, but it's possible. Another trap in the scholar's mate is after queen h5, you're attacking this pawn. Now some beginners, and I've fallen for this myself, I played g6 immediately. The problem with g6 immediately is because you are not defending the pawn on e5. And now you're going to lose a rook, because this is a fork of the king and the rook. Obviously best moves vary from knight e7, bishop e7, or queen e7. I prefer queen e7 because after you lose the rook, the least you could get is a pawn back. After that, you also have to, let's say white plays here. You could do this, but your queen isn't really gonna get much, and she's just gonna be attacked continuously. There's no way out. Of course, you can just go back and lose a knight, which is obviously not a good thing that you would want to have now, right? Besides that, obviously there are some openings where black can play knight f6, gambiting a pawn. They gambit a pawn here simply to get better development than white, because white has just the queen out, which if you see, let's say white does this, immediately the queen can be attacked and you're also developing a piece at the same time. So the queen needs to move around a lot, and then see, look at black. Already has castled, has developed 3 pieces, and is completely fine. In fact, 4 pieces if you count the rook on f8. Because it moved from h8 to f8. Now it's gonna go into the middle and begin to attack. Because the white king is still in the center. And if you have castles, you're gonna have to attack that king. So, yeah. These are just some of the many traps that can be used in the Scholar's Mate. But obviously some people just don't fall for it. There's also a very big line, a very big trap that black can use against the Scholar's Mate, which is a long and lengthy line for beginners, but it's possible to be done. e4, e5, queen h5, knight c6 defending the pawn on e5, bishop c4 attacking the pawn on f7, and here you actually are careful and play g6. Now queen f3, re-threatening the same thing. You play knight f6, stopping that. Now, they could try something like this, g4. The point of g4 is, let's say black doesn't care. Mostly what white here is looking for is that black will get scared and see that their knight is under attack, so they just move the knight and hangmate. That's possible. But obviously, if you're obviously smart enough, which you obviously are, you're not going to fall into the trap, right? Right? Still, after queen f3 and knight f6, let's say they don't fall for it and they go for something like this, queen b3. Now they're attacking from a different angle on f7. They just have a straight obsession with f7, but that's the whole point. And after this, you can play something like possibly queen e7, just, you know, being a bit passive. You can also play something like d5 if you're a maniac. You can do that. And some people, and this is the trap, you play knight d4 attacking the queen instantly. Now, some people will be like, oh look, free pawn. And it's a check. The only problem with that is black can go here. And the queen is still being attacked. And if the queen stays out of line of the bishop, let's say she goes here, the bishop's gone. So where can the queen move? Obviously, she can not move here, nor here, but here, to defend the bishop. Now you can attack with b5, kicking the queen out of here, telling her to get out of the way and take the bishop. Now obviously she should be careful because she can only really go here, because then again you're threatening knight. Oh wait, no, sorry. If she does not care, for example, if she just goes all the way back, you're still threatening this. Still threatening knight takes c2, which is a fork on the king and the rook. A very common fork, you can expect that. So obviously she would have to go somewhere like, let's say here, and then you just lose the bishop. That's it. And now you simply up a piece, and you're calm, chilling. And in fact, you have 2 knights developed, so you're practically just chilling. But obviously, there are multiple ways to beat this. So yeah. This is why some people have fallen for the trap, but you can obviously not fall for the trap by following this simple guide. Yes everyone, that is basically most of the tips and tricks I can understand and currently can tell you about in the Scholar's Mate. So I hope in case you encountered this, you can obviously defend against it now, or if you're going to use it, you now know how to use it and how to prevent any sort of threats on your queen or bishop in this very trap. So I hope y'all have a good time learning chess, and I hope to see y'all in the next video. Adios amigos.